We're back. Julia Daniels, Reggie Wilson, Carol Evans, Sports Plus, and we're just going to get started right away.
Okay.
The blowtorch at Target Center earlier this week, Napheesa Collier just laying into WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. And I took some notes because I had to make sure I was getting it right. She came at the officiating, compensation for players. She said they have the best players in the world, the best fans in the world, the worst leadership in the world. And I think it's very interesting when you think about this, because she had a 4.5-minute statement, 2 pages of just straight darts. You know, you can set it to the Ether music, you can set it to They Not Like Us music, you can set it to whatever diss track you want, but like Fee went there. It was definitely Big Fee, not the little one. Yeah, absolutely. She said there's clearly a problem and the league needs to accept it. She said the first step is acceptance, and they just won't accept it. She said leadership's answer to being held accountable is to suppress everyone's voices by handing out fines. And she says she's not worried about fines, but anytime something involves free speech in the WNBA, usually there's a fine attached to it. So like she went there, really went there on Tuesday. I don't think anybody who was coming to that exit interview was prepared for what she prepared to read that day. Yeah,
so I am off Monday, Tuesday. So I was off when she made this statement. I was running some errands and I was in a parking lot and I just happened to open Twitter and I scrolled through, and that's when everybody posted the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I started listening thinking it was going to be, a regular end of season. I did think when I first looked at it, I was like, why does she have a paper in her hand? Like, is she going to read off some stats? What's happening? And then she started reading and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I was like, oh, this is very interesting. And then, when you're hearing it almost in real time, because that's how social media works, you're thinking, is everyone else thinking this is awesome and as insane and incredible as I'm thinking it is right now? Because I'm sitting there and this is right when people are tweeting it. So no tweets have like real traction on them at that point. So I'm watching and I'm like, oh, first of all, Napheesa Collier, for those that know her, for those that have watched her for forever, is one of the most respectful, polite, sweet. The second time I met her, she came and gave me a hug, and I was like, oh, okay, like I feel like we're friends now. Just that's who she is as a person. And so when Stephen A. Smith talked yesterday, I think, about her statement, and he said when any player, but especially somebody like Napheesa Collier, is making a statement like this, it says something. I think it says something then more than almost any player in the league, because she's built the standard already. And so this was something when I'm watching it in real time and I'm thinking, is everyone else thinking that this is like gonna start something crazy that's about to happen? And then you see the traction on social media and you're a little bit relieved that you're not insane and also that it's not falling on deaf ears and she's not just yelling into this void. It has gained traction, and I think that this is something that the WNBA has been looking for a while. Another part of it that I loved is, for those that don't know, Napheesa Collier is one of the founders of Unrivaled, the league that she has. And she said, it would be different if I didn't know what the job required. But I do. And that was just because you can't argue with that. She knows how to run a league. She's paying players better than the W is. And so she has every single box that you could possibly need for a background check to make this statement checked off already. And so it was refreshing, it was satisfying, and I don't think, no notes from me if I'm looking at it as an outsider.
I feel like all the WNBA players and all the WNBA girlies were like,
yes, they said, thank you, Fee.
10 out of 10, no notes. But here's the thing, I thought it was savage because she went there, like she had receipts. She went into the bag and talked about private conversations that she had with Cathy, saying like, hey, when she complained about, how bad the officiating is, Cathy said, only losers complain about the refs.
Which you're telling that to Napheesa Collier, who's on one of the winningest teams of all time. In league history. It's such a hypocritical statement to make. And then the statements when she brought up Angel, Reese, Page, Caitlin Clark, and Kathy said Caitlyn should feel lucky that she has the platform that the W has given her to make the $16 million outside of the league.
She said they should be on their knees thanking her for the platform that they have. And
were you gonna tell Caitlin Clark, no, you can't play in the W? Like, what do you?
I
Kathy,
thought it was funny.
You don't have the power. You don't have the leverage.
I thought it was funny, SVP last night, who, I was waiting on him to say something because he always gives the best perspectives, but he's just like, did he miss the Iowa days? Because, this was bigger than the W. Caitlyn came and infused the W with something that maybe they didn't even have before, with her popularity, bringing it to the professional level. And so it's crazy that was the way that Fee decided to go about this. She called officiating a form of self-sabotage.
Right.
And the W saying that they have the best refs in the world, she just couldn't stand for it anymore. So
unbelievable.
So she said all that about Kathy, and Kathy had a response. We got the statement. Let's put it up on the screen. Kathy said, I have the utmost respect for Napheesa Collier and for all the players in the WNBA. Together, we have all worked tirelessly to transform this league. My focus remains on ensuring a bright future for the players and the WNBA, including collaborating on how we continue to elevate the game. I am disheartened by how Napheesa characterized our conversations and league leadership, but even when our perspectives differ, my commitment to the players and to the work will not waver. And so what I thought was interesting about that statement is she didn't deny anything that Fee said.
She didn't, no.
She said she was like, I don't really appreciate you putting our business out there like that. That should have stayed in-house. Why would you,
Well, and the league officials have been so protected for so long, and they have ridden the fact that they have the power and that these players really are getting, besides if they go play overseas, this is how it's always been. They're getting this is their living. And so you can take advantage and silence them because that's the only place that they're getting any kind of traction for what they're doing day to day. It's the only place that's cutting their check unless it's the off season and they're playing overseas. But even then, you're scared to risk it because because the W has always had the power. But it's not the case anymore because of players like Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark. These people have brought traction to this league that the league is just not ready for, and they don't have the power anymore. Oh, you don't want to pay your players what they need to be paid? Well, number one, they have all these endorsement deals that are paying your bills way above and beyond what the W is paying. And you have leagues like Unrivaled that are paying your players better than you're paying them. And so it's not like they don't have options at this point. And I think that it's something that the league has to address. So they have to listen to their players. They didn't have to listen to their players until in recent years.
Yeah. How about this from Caitlin Clark just today? I have great respect for Fee. She made a lot of valid points. Fee said it all. This is straight up the most important moment in this league's history. And that's right here at the precipice of the CBA deal expiring October 31st.
Spooky.
And, Kelsey Mitchell today, speaking about her free agency next year, she's just like, well, I hope we have a league next year.
Right.
That's where we're at right now. And this is what Napheesa Collier had to say when talking about what the future holds and them not backing down.
We have the best players in the world. We have the best fans in the world. But right now, we have the worst leadership in the world. We have the most power that we've ever had in the history of sport, in the history of women's sports, in the history of our specific sport. All this money that they're talking about is non-existent without the players. We hold all of the cards. We want to play the sport that we love. Of course we want to play. We want to get paid. But we have to stand on our principles, and we have to stand for what is fair and what is right, and that's something that we're not going to budge on.
We have to stand for what is fair and what is right, and that is something that we're not going to budge on. I cannot say with confidence that we're not headed for a work stoppage.
Yeah, well, work stoppage for the W. Unrivaled is still going to be around.
Right.
And you know what? If they decide to extend play to 5v5, who's going to stop them at this point?
There are only a few other roster spots left in Unrivaled, so that's about to, it's so interesting just being at this moment because I literally talked to Fee one-on-one the day that Unrivaled was announced a couple years ago. And to see where it is now and to see Fee sit at that platform with the platform that she has, it's something, man. It's something. And I think we're in for a reckoning in the W.
Yeah, I think obviously something has to change. I don't know how soon that will be. Mm-hmm. It would behoove the W to make that change happen quickly. It's just so ironic to me that it expires on Halloween.
Yeah,
too.
Spooky.
It is spooky. It's, it's something scary's headed this way. We'll see how it shapes out. But it is refreshing just, I'm not an athlete, but a woman in sports, seeing women in sports continue to build their voices in this way and stand up for themselves and know their worth too, because for so long, the W's been around for decades now.
Yeah.
And the players have never been, paid what you would expect a professional athlete to be paid. There's a lot of layers to that, obviously, but it's so refreshing to see women knowing the leverage that they have at this point in time and taking advantage of it the first chance that they get. I think that's what's happening right now.
Absolutely. Kathy, good luck. Not great, okay? Not great for you right now. Anyway, that's much more developing, but we're going to talk about a few other things. Big baseball news this week.
Ooh.
Welcome back to Sports Plus. The other big news this week before Fee lit just an absolute blowtorch to downtown, Rocco Baldelli out as Twins manager. First couple thoughts about that, Julia.
Yeah, I think we saw this coming. Mm-hmm. We saw it, two things. We saw it coming, but we also knew it was a scapegoat move, right?
Oh, man, yes. Yes.
Like, if we're being totally honest here, we knew that they were, this is what happens when teams get in this predicament, right? You get rid of your manager. Is it the manager's fault necessarily? No.
No, it's not.
It's not Rocco's fault.
It's
Listen,
not.
I've covered Rocco for almost 4 baseball seasons now. I don't think he's the problem with this organization.
No.
I just don't think and Twins fans, you probably agree with me here.
Yeah.
Rocco's not the problem. But it just, that's how the cookie crumbles in these situations when you have a team that's, we don't know what they're doing. We don't know why they're doing it. And we're just along for the ride at this point.
All right. So I talked about this on Monday a little bit, but this is just, I just don't understand the what else was Rocco supposed to do with what he was given? And every year he was just coming out there. I remember 2023, all right, they win a playoff series for the first time in 2 decades. And what do they do after that? Slash the payroll. And I remember going to spring training being like, hey, you guys are still really confident that you are going to be a playoff team and you guys can go further than you did last year, even though they slashed the payroll by $30 million. And everybody's like, yeah, we believe in these guys. Man, the bottom fell out in that season.
Yeah.
Injuries racked up. They didn't have the depth because they didn't have the money spent to build the depth on the team.
Right.
Don't go to the playoffs. This year, fire sale at the deadline. You finished 70-92. What is Rocco supposed to do? And then at the end, this is a statement from Derek Falvey. This game is ultimately measured by results, and over the past 2 seasons, we did not reach the goals we set. I take personal responsibility for that. That's good. After discussions with ownership, we determined that this is the right moment for a change in voice and direction. This does not reflect Rocco's effort or leadership. It reflects where we are as an organization and the belief that a different voice is needed to help us move forward. So here's my thing. You get a different voice. What's
with
that person,
the same amount of money and the same amount of talent?
What is that person going to say to help the team win more than spending some actual money and getting the team better? Derek Falvey talked about how he felt like the team had a really good core in place and all that, but you have to spend some money to put some talent around that core so that you can win.
Right.
And for any Twins fan who is hopeful that things are going to turn around quick, listen to this soundbite from Derek Falvey and tell me if you feel confident.
And we're still working through that, right? The offseason doesn't begin and end in October. We know that. It usually happens during the course of this month. But I don't have clear direction yet on exactly where we're headed going into this offseason. I hope to have those conversations over the next couple of weeks.
He does not have clear direction of where this offseason is headed. Great. And look, I'm not trying to like rag on Derek Favre. We like Derek. We talk to him all the time. But like, he's just kind of going out there and just the guy that's telling everybody what the owners are telling him to say. And it's just not looking good for anybody involved right now.
No, and he's had to, I mean, I feel like his hands are so tied, and he has worded a lot of his statements to let us know that.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, guys, this is what they tell me to do. I don't, what else am I supposed to do at this point? And what else are you supposed to do at this point? If your owners are telling you not to spend money and cutting back on your budget,
gotta do
what
it.
are you doing at that point?
They're signing your checks.
And also, this is baseball. This is not these other professional leagues with caps that they have and things like that. This is one of those spaces where you have to spend the money if you want to win. This is not, a time and space where it's like, oh, we'll ride the talent that we have and it'll be farm grown and this, that, and the other. It's just, this is not how baseball works nowadays.
No.
You've got to go out, you've got to sign these guys to insane contracts, and you have to spend the money. And you know what? Dare I say, if the Pohlads don't have the money to do that, then sell the team like you were originally going to do to begin with.
Well, they got these new investors that they talked about that are coming aboard. So we've yet to see, I guess maybe we will see over the offseason, if those new investors will infuse some cash to help them actually spend this offseason. But if you're a manager candidate coming into this interview to be, look, there are 30 MLB teams, so there are only so many jobs to be a manager in the league.
Right.
So it's still a very prime job to have, no matter what the team is, even the A's. But but you try to go into this, putting your best foot forward. What are you selling this manager on? Because here's what I like to think about interviews. Like, they go both ways. Like, not only are you trying to sell them on hiring you, you're trying to be sold on why you should come in the first place.
And anybody worthwhile is in that position.
Right.
You don't want somebody that's desperate for this job.
Right.
Because that means they don't have any standing, they don't have any background, they don't have anything that makes them qualified for the job unless they're in that position. And so, what appeals to a potential manager about the Twins right now?
I'm not sure that they are a baseball team.
That they're a baseball team, and that Byron Buxton just had a basically injury-free season in one of his best.
126 games Buck played, one of the best years of his career.
Completely wasted.
70 and 92. Manager's gone. No playoffs. Is over.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
And also you missed the playoffs 4 out of the last 5. Oh gosh, you have your lowest attendance for a single season since 2000?
Yeah.
Things are bad. I mean, the MLB I feel like is struggling just in general, but you want to keep a team here, you better figure this out. Yeah. And I think we all know the number one solution is you're going to have to spend money.
Spend some money, baby. Look, Rocco, third winningest manager in Twins history. They'll never be able to take that from you.
Yep.
He'll probably bounce back. You know how these managers are. They get new jobs elsewhere. So Rocco will be fine, but it's just a shame that he kind of had to be the guy to fall on the sword because of what ownership made decisions to do.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's how the cookie crumbles all the time for these guys.
Yes, it does. But hey, Rocco, it's been great. It's been great. All right, coming up, we talk Timberwolves, season's on the way, and Vikings over in London. Welcome back to Sports Plus. All right, Juju, very colorful media day this week with Anthony Edwards. That's probably the best way to describe that. But in that, he talked about the fact that he wants to win MVP.
Yep.
And he wants to chase a championship. And he thinks that because the Timberwolves pretty much ran it back with the roster that they had last year, minus a few key guys, Luka Garza and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that kind of fast tracks them to be able to start fast, start strong, and really carry them to where they want to go this year. But back-to-back Western Conference Finals runs, it's hard to go further than that, other than going to an NBA championship. And so you're looking at what the Timberwolves have done, and you're looking at what Ant said he wanted to do for the first time in the last couple years. He's not playing Team USA basketball, so he said that he missed the competition. He enjoys playing with the best in the world, but this did allow him to work on his game a little bit and really just kind of he's like, D. Hines told him, his physical therapist, that greatness is boring.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of boring days that he spent in the gym just working on one-leg jumpers, working on, he said C. Hines, I know it's kind of confusing. C. Hines is the trainer.
Yes.
He got some gloves for him, some ball handling gloves. His ball handling is the best that it's ever been in his life, he says, because of what he's worked on. He also, through liaison, I guess, talked to Michael Jordan. He didn't talk specifically to Michael Jordan, but he talked through someone to Michael Jordan. And Michael told him on how to gain better leverage when he's posting guys up, which mid-range game, finishing at the rim, those are things that specifically Chris Finch told Ant that he wanted to see him get better with. And so that's the offense, though. They asked Ant this week, did he want to be a defensive player of the year candidate? He said no, because he's got a couple guys ahead of him on the team that will be hard to beat. But he said he wants to be all NBA defensive player on that team this year. Listen to what he had to say about defense.
We trying to get back to the number one defense in the league, and I know it starts with me, especially my pressure on the ball. Like I can't guard one game and not guard the next game because we playing, somebody who's not up to par. I got to be ready every night, and I'm gonna take pride in that. And I told my teammates to hold me accountable, coaches included.
So, do you think Anthony Edwards will elevate the Timberwolves defense this year as they try to ascend back to one of the best defensive teams in the league?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that Ant has not necessarily always been consistent on, is playing both ends of the court. And so it's nice to see that he has aspirations for that, right? I think he knows when you're on a team with Rudy Gobert, being defensive player of the year is not necessarily in the cards for you.
And Jaden McDaniels.
Right. And do I think that it's out of reach for him? No. We would have to see his entire game change for that to happen, I feel like. I do think NBA all defensive play is doable for him. But I do think it's interesting. Every year we talk about the progression of Ant and him growing up a little bit. And, we talk about how young he is and that he's learning. And I think for Wolves fans, it's a good thing that he's looking at these awards.
Yeah.
Because before he said he wasn't interested, he doesn't care about that, he doesn't want to be the face of the NBA, he doesn't this is just extra motivation for him, extra ambition. This is a guy, he's already got so much personality, and not in a bad way necessarily, but he has a big ego, and it's what motivates him.
Yeah.
I think the main thing that maybe puts a damper on Anthony Edwards' day is when people don't like what he did or don't like how he played on the court. And so I think just seeing him be ambitious towards awards is good. There's nothing wrong with that. And especially when you are that caliber of player and you can do it too. And I know that they've talked about how he has studied film in this offseason more than he ever has before. I think it's just Ant growing up. This is, him learning that these things are important because they motivate you to be your best. And I just found that interesting that he now is saying this, and I also find it interesting. Did he say something about he wanted a stat pad at this point too?
So I thought it was funny. He said MVPs and championships. That means that they got to score a lot of points and they got to win a lot of games.
Right.
That's the path to both of those things. And he also said that especially on some of those games where they're playing a little bit of lesser competition, he wants to go out and score career highs every night.
Right. And that's something that we have not seen out of him.
Right.
You know, we have always talked about how the Wolves have this habit of playing down to teams that they should easily trample. And if you have a guy outright saying, which he's never said before, that he basically wants to stat pad these games, that's also a good thing, Wolves fans. I think we got Anthony Edwards what we expected him to say, a lot of swear words. During his pressers, which is, you know, for me, always entertaining.
Yeah.
But then you also hear him talk about just specific goals, big goals that are not lofty for Anthony Edwards, but they are goals that he has specified for himself. And I think that in any part of just our lives in general, having these goals are good things.
It's a good thing, yeah.
It's never a bad thing.
Absolutely. So we'll see how that develops this season. Real quick, we just want to get to the Vikings over in London right now. Justin Jefferson playing with Carson Wentz. Just another one of the QB carousels in his career. Listen to what he had to say about that today.
It really doesn't matter who's out there throwing the ball, and I always have confidence in myself and the person throwing the ball that, you know, we're gonna make something shake. So it's been difficult, you know, just trying to connect with the one quarterback and you know, getting that relationship. But at the end of the day, my job is to go out there and catch the ball and be a open target for my quarterback.
So we saw last week in Dublin, they really made a concerted effort to try to get Jets the ball.
Yep.
And the connection between he and Carson Wentz seems fine. What are you looking forward to for this game against the Browns?
Well, I think that the Vikings go in with an advantage because they're acclimated to the time zone that they're in. So that's number one, I would say. The injury lists for these teams are grocery lists long.
CVS receipt.
It is bad. Yeah. It's bad. I think I'm interested to see how this O-line holds up for Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see how this Brian Flores defense takes advantage of a rookie quarterback in Dylan Gabriel starting his first regular season NFL game ever. And so that could be interesting and bad for him, but also the defense has had a little less time to prepare for that quarterback because they just found out about it earlier this week.
Yeah, Brian Flores, what did Pat Bev say? Licking my chops. He is ready for a rookie quarterback. It's really difficult for any quarterback to grasp what Brian Flores is doing out there, let alone a rookie quarterback. So good luck, Dylan.
Yeah, especially a blitz-heavy defense like this.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck. Also, good luck.
Stay safe out there.
Good luck, Carson Wentz, with the patchwork offensive line. Myles Garrett looms.
Yeah. That guy's a monster.
Well, of course, we'll be talking about it on Sunday on Vikings Extra. All right, that's the plus for us today. Juju, Reg, peace.